All right, you radio rascals, listen up. All right, we're back on the BC 314D, and we want to take off take apart the two RF sections and the mixer, which is up here. All right, now I have the bolts off, so that's not the hard part. All right, you have to be able to get at the bolts that hold the bottom of these boxes. Now, that requires you to take off the tube deck. All right, now the tube deck, I have this loosened up. This plate comes off, very easy to take off. All right, here's the tube deck that I've recapped. Now there's let's see, we're in the frame. There's a threaded post on each end that you have to unscrew. You know, I only put it in a couple turns, so it would be easy to get apart, but it's being a dick right now because it's got pressure on it. And then this one on this side. All right. See, this is the thing about videos. You know, you can set up so it'll be easier, but it doesn't always work out that way. All right, here's another threaded post. Now, besides the threaded post, you're going to find two bolts, one here and one here, and this will become loose. Now, I want to tell you what booklet. On page 43 of the TM 1150, no, 11-850, the manual, it says, this manual supersedes TM 11850 of March of 1944. You'll find several PDFs under TM 11850, but you have to find the one from 1944, and it gives you a verbal process of taking this stuff apart. Now, what I found that they pulled, which I know the person never really did it that wrote it, was as you're supposed to be able to pull this tube deck up and out away from the radio, and it can't be done according to the picture. They never mention the caps on these tubes. Let me make sure I'm in the frame. Let me drop the camera a little bit. All right, you have to take the grid caps off, the grid cap wire off all three of these tubes. Now, as you pull the tube shelf away, you'll notice it doesn't want to go, and that's because these three wires go through the tube shelf to the tuning capacitor. So as you pull back the tube shelf, you got to wiggle it and let those three wires go through the chassis. Also, now that's back far enough I can get to the bolts. That's all you need. You need to get these bolts to get this off. I'm in the frame here. You got to be able to remove these three because there's capacitors in here that are leaky. And this is the front end of the radio. If you have a leaky cap in the front end of the radio, your signal's not going to get into the radio. And I put these off till last because this is going to be a pain in the ass. There's a shaft that goes through this, and it's all in that booklet I told you. It's verbal. They don't show you it. They do show you this thing sitting real far away from the chassis. Now, it won't go that far away. What they did was they did a copy and a paste. Somebody cut out a picture or whatever, and they moved it further away, took the picture, and you can actually see the grid wires, or the grid wires from the cap, the capacitors, three of them from the tuning cap, are actually still on the tube, which is impossible. So right there, you know the guy really didn't do the work. He cut corners, right? So I just want to tell you one more time, on page 43, the PDF is called TM 11850, and then you got to look for the newest one, which says it supersedes the TM 1150, same number, and then it'll say March 1944. A lot of the booklets are 1943. They don't mention disassembling this radio, and that's because they were probably at first putting them off to the side when they didn't work, and then later on they realized they needed to fix a few of them, and they started. They decided to get someone to figure out how to do the disassembly and write it up. It's real poor. It's very poor. But when you go to pull this away, be very gentle, because these wires have become very brittle, and you might break one and might not notice it. And then the odds of you finding that radio, that wire you broke, is going to be really rare if you're a beginner. Even if you're a pro and you're older like me, you can't always see something you broke. You got to just be careful right from the beginning. But you can see I've recapped. Those are, how many of those are? Let's see. There's 3 to 9.1s just in the tube shelf section, and then that's where there were oil filled capacitors here, 3 of them, and they're all throughout the radio. And I've been doing them, and every one I change to new capacitors, I put the radio on and see if it's improved. The radio gets stations, but it just isn't working very sensitive. And now I know that's going to be the front end. And I was dreading having to go inside this, but in order to get the bolts that hold this down, you have to be able to pull the tube shelf away from the radio. And that's what this is all about. Nobody, I don't think anybody else has ever done this. There are some websites where they sort of mention some of this stuff. It was funny. The one website mentioned that the resistor that looks like a capacitor. That's as far as he got. I realize a lot of people, they don't finish the project. They do stuff for content, and then they look at how many people are viewing it, and if it's just only got a few views, they just stop. All kinds of radios, they just stop, or they're in over their head and they give up, and they just wanted to do a make-believe video. But I'm still on this thing, and it works. But it's a matter of I want it to work the way it's supposed to. I think that's it. All right, that's it.